just understand that the really critical part is not your talent. Your talent is awesome, but it's not going to be the differentiator if your business is successful.
Hey there, and welcome to the Roadmap to Referrals podcast, a show that proves you can generate referrals without asking or manipulation. I am your host, Stacey Brown Randall. I'm also a card-carrying member of the Business Failure Club. I have taught my Referrals Without Asking methodology and strategy to clients in more than 14 countries around the world. And my mission is to help you unleash a referral explosion by leveraging the science of referrals and protecting your relationships. I am very excited to have you guys with me today for this interview. I should say actually more like a discussion of two old friends chatting, because that's truly what this was. I'm excited to welcome you guys. And for those of you who don't know LuAnn Nigara, I'm so excited for you guys to meet her for the first time. She is a hoot. You're going to love this conversation. We are talking about the 10 non-negotiables of every successful entrepreneur. Now, she's going to give you all 10. We'll only have time to dive into 2. You'll totally see what I mean, because we are just having this great dialogue and conversation. And when I told LuAnn that, hey, usually when I bring guests on my podcast, the interviews are, close to like 25 to 35 minutes, she laughed and she was like, we're going to go longer than that. And she was right. I knew we would. Anytime I've been interviewed on her podcast, A Well-Designed Business, the interviews are usually like 45 minutes to an hour plus. So I think we did well to keep it to the time limit that we kept our conversation to. But I'm excited for you guys to hear from LuAnn and talking about, this is someone who has been in business for decades, and she teaches other entrepreneurs how to be successful. And I think you're really going to appreciate this list of the 10 non-negotiables she's developed over, of course, her decades in business, her 1,100 podcast interviews. I think she's got 4 books written. I'm a co-author with her with one of them. She's a pretty amazing, phenomenal woman, and I'm excited for you guys to learn from her. And there is a little tease that happens in there about a story. I promise if you stick around to the end, I will actually explain the story that we don't talk about during the interview, but we absolutely mention it. So stick around to the end, come back to me after the interview, and I will finish telling that story. But for now, let's just get to the interview with LuAnn. LuAnn, welcome to the show. I have to say, this feels like a very long time coming, because I have been on your podcast a couple of times. And I know I do a solo show. I don't usually have guests on, but I feel like this is like a meant to be. And I'm a little embarrassed that it hadn't happened before now. So thanks for being here.
Well, it's so funny, Stace. I'm really super excited to be here. And like when we were talking a couple of weeks ago, I didn't even realize I had never been on the show. We've known each other for so long. I've been such good friends and collaborators that I just assumed I had been on.
I should have gone with it. Like, oh yeah, LuAnn, you've totally been on before. Like it was like episode, like blah, 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 blah. Oh my gosh. Well, I think that's also when you do a podcast for so long. Now I'm not anywhere near where you are with how long you've been doing your podcast. But even for me, like I'm 360 shows in. People are like, yeah. Do you remember when you talked about? I'm like, I don't remember what I talked about a week ago. Let alone.
Well, I think for you, because the bulk of your shows are solo shows, I can see that. Like for my Window Treatment for Profit show, there's like, I don't know, almost 400 shows there, and they are probably 50% solo shows. So that I'm like, did I talk about that? Did I not? Whereas a Well-Designed Business is 1,100 shows, and maybe there's I don't know if there's 50 or 100 solo shows. So I'm like, oh, like 2018, so-and-so, 2017, probably around in 19, you know what I mean? So I think it's different when it's a solo show. It's like, what did I say?
And the fact that I have somehow figured out how to talk about a single topic.
Exactly.
For that many shows.
That's the thing. At Window Treatment, I'm like, all right. I'm like, okay, ChatGPT, what should we talk about with window treatment people today?
What is something new and exciting that I haven't talked about in years? Yes, it is. Exactly. It is interesting. I mean, that I will admit, like sometimes it's like, and what are we going to talk about now? Because I'd like to build out my editorial calendar for an entire year. I don't know if that's how you do it. Because for me, I can't handle the stress of not knowing
Yeah.
What am I going to talk about? Like, and then I want things to fit and I want things to weave together. So I'll do like mini series, like we're going to do 3 episodes on this. And,
Oh, that's
you know,
smart.
yes, but
Now, more like it's Thursday and we need a show for Monday. What's that topic going to be?
what's it going to be? I mean, I've definitely had those moments too. Definitely. Oh, okay. So of course, I mean, we could just like chit chat for hours and that would be awesome and excellent. And I know all the things about you, but I know there are many, many people in my audience that may not. And so I want to make sure that you have a chance to like do the proper introduction and tell us about all the things that makes LuAnn so fabulous.
Well, okay. So like, the name, rank, and serial number, right? So my podcasts are A Well-Designed Business and Window Treatments for Profit. Started the first one, A Well-Designed Business, in 2016. We're, approaching, like I said, 1,100 episodes. And basically the mission of that podcast is to teach interior designers to be profitable. And then the Window Treatment for Profit, same mission, different target audience. But where it comes from 40 years of running a retail window treatment operation with my husband and our cousin Bill. And our target clients were consumers and interior designers. So over that 40 years, it was very much I basically the trade partner for interior designers. So understanding how their business works, what they need as support, and our business is incredibly system driven, and it was so apparent to me that as creatives, that system and money part is a tough nut to crack. And I know I wouldn't have cracked it. I'm also, creative, but my husband, the Vincennes, Stace, he is A, systems driven, and he is B, financial savvy. And so just like running that business with him all these years, now I would say I claim those as, knowledge bases for myself as well. And just really trying to help creative entrepreneurs, whether it's in the home decor industry or whatever it is, just understand that the really critical part is not your talent. Your talent is awesome, but it's not going to be the differentiator if your business is successful. The differentiator is how process driven you are and how knowledgeable you are about managing your finances. And if you have those and you add to that talent could be average talent and you're still going to be profitable. It could be superstar talent, and then you're going to be one of those that really lead the industry, whatever industry you're in. And so, in serving all of that, it's of course, I've got the 3 books. You're a co-author in one of my books. We have LuAnn University, where we teach the business side of design, business and window treatment business to professionals. And then we have our Power Talk Friday events that you have been with, me joining me for those. And so that's all the different little envelopes and I guess umbrellas and things that the things happen in. But it's all about teaching creatives really to be profitable.
Yeah. And I think it's like a lot of the folks that I work with, not all of them, but a lot of the folks I work with, they're the type that are like really amazing at doing X, whatever X is, the interior designer, right? Or the attorney, or
right.
the bookkeeper, or, it's just like the marketing consultant, right? They're really amazing at doing X. And then they decide to start a business to do it as well. And I'm like, okay, well, that's 2 totally different hats. And there's
right.
a lot of things to learn. Right. I mean, it's like, here, this is you being the amazing interior designer or whatever it is, that whatever X is. And like, here's all the other things you need to learn how to do. You
exactly.
got to put those into one hand. Like, it's just, and for me, like you are like, it's a thing, like knowing your numbers and being system and process driven. And I would add to that, from my perspective, it's also like, you got to know how to sell. Like, you got to know how to bring clients in the door, and there's bringing them in the door, which is like what I teach from the referrals perspective. But then it's the like taking care of, like getting them to say yes. And then of course, taking care of them as well. So there's a lot to learn.
Yeah, no, it's literally the epitome of Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth.
Yeah.
You have the technician, who is the attorney, the doctor, the interior designer that is like, I'm really good at this. You know what? I'm going out on my own. But then you need the entrepreneur, who is the visionary and the one is setting the path and seeing where and what the company should do and specialize in, who that target client should be. And then, you have the operations manager, the one who is making sure that the systems are created and documented. And, 95% of small businesses are all three. You don't, but you're not really qualified or knowledgeable for two of the three things. So hopefully you're listening to like your podcast and other podcasts to get that education, because that talent and passion is a strong component. And that talent and passion usually turns into you being a good advocate for your company. So you're probably a somewhat good salesperson, but then you've got to hone that and, get that skill up level as well. And of course, you've got to drive leads, which is what you help us all with. So,
yeah. So, I mean, I just think most people are like, oh, I'm starting a business. And I'm like, it's going to be the most exhilarating time of your life. And the most like, what did I just sign up for? Because it is, it's like learning that you are like so good at something and that's so not good.
Right.
And other things like, sometimes a daily basis.
And it's kind of humbling, right? Because when you come to something because you're so good at it and then finding out that like, oh, wait, like, but that part, I have no idea.
You're like, I don't even know how to make heads or tails out of this. So this is obviously one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, because it is important to talk about this. And you have created a list of like the 10 non-negotiables that you have found in your 40 years of being a business owner and all those thousands of podcast episodes and the books that you've written of like what a successful entrepreneur has like as their non-negotiables. And you have 10 of them. And so I went through the list and I was like, I want to talk about 2 of them because I think it's super important for people listening. And we're not going to talk about like the anything that's referrals or sales specific. I want to talk about other ones with you because I think that's just as necessary. And so, but why don't you just like run through the list of 10 so everyone listening understands here are the 10 non-negotiables of successful entrepreneurs. I will tell you though, Lou, when your team sent me the list and before I like opened it up and looked at it, I was like, oh, snap-a-doodle. Is there going to be something on here I don't actually do well or that I don't do right or that I need to improve? Like I figured there'd be some I needed to improve upon, but I was like, oh, are there going to be some?
Any?
I know, like, am I missing any of them? I felt better about myself once I got to number 10. But yeah, so let's have you just like run through the 10 and then I'll start asking you more questions about the number 3 and number 7.
Okay, sounds good. All right. So, in my experience, the actual boots on the ground experience, and like you said, 1,000 plus episodes and 16 billion more conversations with entrepreneurs, is the number one thing is that they define their mission, vision, and core values. They spend some time, take it seriously. I also find this is the number one thing that every entrepreneur skips. So 9 out of 10 will go right past this and say, not important, don't need to do it. But it is, to me, and it bears out in interview after interview, it is a critical step. Define your mission, vision, and core values. Mm-hmm. The second thing is that they actively gather their dream team of experts and then ultimately employees. And so these are the people that they surround themselves with, their CPA, their lawyer, their collaborators, all of the things, the consultants that they work with, their website developer. They gather the dream team of experts and they understand when they're not good at something, they hire out for it and have that mentorship and or paid information. The third thing is that they prioritize the creation and documentation of the systems and processes. And the key here is prioritizing it, right? It's like we can talk about it, we can wish about it, we can intend on it, but the truly successful entrepreneurs that walk among us, they actually prioritize it. And they also understand it's a living, breathing document and it's going to change all the time. Mm-hmm. Number 4 is that they know their numbers. They know what numbers they need to know. Okay. They know how to track them and they know how to analyze them. So this is anything from lead stats, close ratios to, projecting the gross volume of the business, estimating taxes and having it put aside. It's literally everything about numbers. When you're avoiding this step, you're usually running your business from what your checkbook looks like. You're like, got 20K, I can probably do this. I got 100K, I can probably do that. That's not how the most successful among us do it. The fifth thing is that they define their brand and they express it in their messaging with integrity. So, It's like they really dig into who they are, what they are, how they want to be viewed, how they show up in the space that they're in. And then they align all their messaging to that. But then that messaging is expressed with integrity. So it's expressed from your voice, your point of view. And that's the tricky part. It's sometimes tricky to discover the brand. But when you do, then the second step is to say it the way you would say it. You don't say it the way you think somebody wants to hear it. You say it the way it's true for you. The sixth is that they understand their ideal client, their target market, their dream client, whatever language you want to put around it, they know who they're going after. It's clear to them. You might take 2, 3, 4 different types of clients, but your target ideal one that's going to be, say, 60 to 70% of the people you work with, you know who they are, because then you can do all the other things to market and what you teach us to do. The seventh is they embrace learning, coaching, and hiring people smarter than them. And I literally just say to everybody, if you have ever had a child and that child wanted to take dance lessons or wanted to play, softball or soccer or hockey or music lessons, you don't be like, here's your clarinet. We'll check in a couple years and see if you know how to play it. No, you invest in teaching and making sure that that child has all the skills taught to them so that they can possibly succeed at it. But you don't say, well, I gave you a clarinet 4 years ago and you still don't know how to play it. But yet we open businesses, we put our lives and our mortgages and everything on the line, and we just figure, I guess I'll figure it out. No, the smartest among us, they learn and they hire and they work with people who are smarter than them in their gaps. The eighth is the smartest and the most successful among us, they strive for an exceptional client experience with every client. Now, striving for an exceptional client experience with every client. Keyword strive, right? We're not going to do it every time. We're going to fall down. We're going to drop a ball. But if we don't even consider that our goal is exceptional for every client, we don't come anywhere close to figuring out a process that can begin to think about delivering that. Number 9 is that they build meaningful, genuine relationships with peers, clients, trades, and vendors. We're a fabulous example of this. We met each other randomly because of a podcast 9 years ago, and we have stayed friends and we have collaborated and we've continued to. Sometimes you're helping me, sometimes I'm helping you, but it's a truth that we have become a genuine friendship because we actively build it. And you look for the places that it feels right to do it, and you don't drop a ball. You go out of your way.
And sometimes you send inappropriate things on cupcakes to people too.
Exactly.
As part of nurturing that friendship.
Exactly. You'll have to tell that story.
Okay. I'll make everybody wait till the end. Okay, number 10. Sorry.
Okay. And number 10 is quite simply, they understand that it's a decision every day to show up as the CEO, that the buck starts and stops with you, and standing in the corner, whining and complaining that this is hard is not relevant and not going to help. And it's just whether it's having a hard conversation with an employee, having a hard conversation with a client, whether it's making a tough business call on something, but you recognize you're the CEO and it's not going to be all unicorns and rainbows. And some days it is. And when it is, you're the CEO and you get the high fives. Yay. But it's a daily decision. Let's do this again today. Let's do this again today. Yeah. And so that's what I've learned really runs across the board of the most successful businesses.
So, it took everything in me not to pick 8 and 9 to be a part of this conversation with the client experience and then with the building of relationships. And I was like, nope, we're going to talk about something different because I talk about these other two a lot.
All the time, right?
All the time, yes. And, so from that perspective, like I looked through the list and I think you just gave such a great explanation of what they are and then a little bit of detail of the why behind them, because it is like hearing them is like, okay, here's the 10 things. Yep. I'm kind of mentally checking boxes as I go. But the truth is that all of these things make your life better and easier as a business owner, but all of them take work.
Yes.
Up front to do. And that is always like, I will have people who talk about like either working with me at my VIP level or coming into my coaching program. And inevitably I will get the question, well, who's not successful? And I always say, and I'm like, you already know the answer to this. It's those that don't do the work.
Right.
Because I can't
If
do
you're
it for
just
you.
planning to pay the money and think somehow at the end, I'm just going to pop you on the head and it's all going to be fine.
Yeah, it'll be perfect. Like I was on the call today with a VIP client, and literally they were like, we know we're not getting results because we haven't taken the time to implement everything you built for us. And I just was on to be like, I wanted to come through Zoom and like hug them and be like, thanks for acknowledging, like, thanks for being a grown up.
Right,
And
right, right.
acknowledging that it's amazing. It could be doing great things, but you're not doing them.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's the CEO. You got to show up and do it.
You got
Yeah.
to take that responsibility. Okay, but I did want to dive in to 3 and 7 because I do think that when I think about the things where I have the greatest amount of stress in my business as a business owner, and I will hit 12 years later this year. So this isn't like my
Congrats.
first year rodeo. And you know my story. Most of my listeners know my story. I also had a business before this that failed after just over 4 years.
Hmm.
And I went back to corporate America before starting this business 12 years ago. And it's changed a lot. And, I used to be a productivity coach and now I'm teaching referrals. Like, couldn't be more different, right? But these were the things that I think caused some of the greatest stress and the things that just made business harder. And I was like, oh, I think these are the two we're supposed to talk about. So let's talk about the prioritization, right? And it's the making it the priority, which is always the piece. Like, and you kind of mentioned this, it's always the piece where people are like, it's important, but is my actions proving that it's
Right,
important? And it's the systems and
right.
it's the processes. And I mean, I know when I was a productivity coach, I was like, why do you keep rewriting that email? How do you not have a template? Right. And then you like, and then here I am like with this business I have now, it feels very different from my coaching practice because it's like a tech stack, and it's like templates. And I've got Kathy as my assistant and I've got an army of contractors that I work with that make everything work. And it's like, oh, like there's a lot of things moving.
Yeah.
And so why do you think business owners don't always make it the priority that they know it should be? What have you found?
I think that it depends on the stages that you're in. And I think most people, you think about startup stage and it's you and maybe it's a bookkeeper at some point and maybe it's you and a bookkeeper and an assistant. But, what happens is you can quote unquote earn money. You can have clients and have invoices paid and you can pay your own bills and you can go to Aruba and you can do the things and not actually take the time to do it. So it gets very seductive to say that's not necessary. But what I always say on my podcast is if you don't have documented systems that are duplicatable and repeatable, you actually have a you. You don't have a business. You have a you. You have a thing that lives between your ears. And it could be amazing. Your systems and processes could be fairly detailed in your mind. But the thing is, because you can actually have successful projects and make money and get away with it, it gets very hard to stop the train that's moving and say, okay, I know that I haven't documented this. I know that. And what it is even if your you is successful, not a chance. You're not telling me that there aren't those times where you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're like, oh my gosh, did I send that proposal out? I hung up at the end of the day and I said I would do that. And I don't know that I did it. Or, oh my gosh, did I order the inventory for next week? Like I own a pizza shop and did I order all the boxes? Are we going to have takeout with no boxes? Right. It's like when it's systemized, then someone other than you can do it. And when it's systemized, even if it's systemized in documents and you stay a small solopreneur firm with maybe one or two auxiliary people to round you out, you still you like the stress level comes so far down because everything you do, you're like, check, 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 check. Oh, everything has been done for that client. Everything is done for that order. Everything is done for that. If I'm a wedding planner, okay, I've got all the linens and blah, blah, blah. But with the thing about the hard part is the combination of an achievement of certain level of success and the pace that the business is going, and it feels like there's never enough time to stop and do it. And it's usually two things that happen. Either you decide you're going to scale. And then you realize, oh, sweet Jesus, like I have to tell everything to this person every time. And even when I tell them the work product doesn't look like the way I like it done, because they're remembering their interpretation of their head of what I said. Or the second thing that happens is that you just really get to the point where you're like, huh, I can't go on vacation. I cannot enjoy all of this that I've created because when I'm not in the building, nothing happens. You know what I mean? And so it's, or you have a catastrophic, that's a big word. You have a very big ball that gets dropped and you just finally have a come to Jesus moment. And you're like, okay, it's time for me to show up as the CEO. I've got to write this stuff down because even me and my you and all of my glory, I missed this thing. So it's usually comes like anything else. It's a pain point, right? It's like, it's a pain point. Something happens, it triggers a pain point, but the pain, I think to your initial question, why is there resistance? Because if we're doing and we're getting it done and it's sort of 80 to 90% successful. And by the way, we've never experienced 95, 98 success. So we don't really know what we're missing. It's, it's kind of like, if you join a gym and you're like, well, that'd be great to do 100 planks, 100, push-ups or whatever, but you're like, well, do I care? And then all of a sudden, if you're the person that takes the time to get in that shape, you're like, well, shoot, this is amazing. I like being strong, right? So it's like the pain and the change is more of a driver than the reward.
Which is sad, but true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, even with it's funny, like, no, okay, that was not the way I wanted to start this story I was going to tell. It wasn't funny. I don't know why I just said
I do that all the time. It's a funny thing. And then I tell a tragic story. I'm like, it's not funny. There's nothing funny about it. That's just a filler sentence.
It's kind of tragic. Like there's somebody that I have hired, that I have been working with, that's helping me get better at something in my business. And this is why you'll know, like, not a setup for a funny story. It's not a funny story at all. Anyways, and her business, from as a client perspective and as somebody who is like on her email list, like it runs smoothly and flawlessly. And then we get an email that recently her brother passed away. Oh. And like tragically. And so she had to like step back from the business, right? As like, I lost my father. You've lost anyone and you run a business and you're like, it just, who cares? Yeah. I got to step back. Right. And so, but you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
It was seamless. And they said you probably didn't even know that she wasn't around because all the things kept going that were going, and that was seamless. And I remember like seeing that. And then I reached out to Kathy, my assistant, and I was like, we're not there yet. Like, we're so much better, and my business is so much better now than it was a year ago or 5 years ago or 12 years ago. But there are pieces where this person that I'm pointing at is the roadblock to us being like that.
We are typically the roadblock. Yeah.
Like, you know what? If I had to step away for 2 weeks because God forbid something like that happened in my world, I was like, things wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Because there's a few things that I still am just not like, is the pain great enough to make me do what I need to do? Yeah. And I think that's growth.
It is. And the thing is, one thing that I always want someone listening to hear is any step forward is a step forward. And if you put 5 steps, one in front of another, you're probably 4 steps ahead of your competition in doing it. Like, I promise you, right? So, and here's the thing, there's no end to this. You develop your system and process and you document them when you're a solo. You add one employee, that, multiple systems have to be tweaked. You add 5 employees, dozens of systems have to be tweaked. So, but the thing is, the core how you do things and the core path for tasks to be completed that to deliver a good client experience have to be identified. And then you're just consistently revising them. And I mean, it's a thing like at WindowWorks is a much bigger business, right? So it's, and even I shouldn't say that in my business also, it's a typical thing where I just said it yesterday, as a matter of fact, so we have sponsored shows on my podcast, right? A sponsored show comes out on Friday. That's a show that a person pays for their business to be advertised on my show, right? So they get that show on Friday, and then on Sunday, an email just about them, no other information, goes to my email list. And just yesterday, I sent a Voxer to my marketing coordinator. And I'm like, I'm really hoping this is not going to be news to you. I'm really hoping we have evolved to the point that when I pick a date for a sponsored show, that the little dominoes are falling behind me and letting marketing know and writers know and all this stuff. And I was like, fingers crossed, and here comes the Voxer. Not a surprise to me. The ClickUp board, it was triggered and I have the email already. I'm like, yes.
Yes. I mean, it is crazy. Like, there are still moments, like sometimes I'll go behind Kathy and be like, hey, did we do? And she was like 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
And I'm like,
yes.
right, because I sometimes just forget.
And what's funny, I don't know how you are about that, but like if we have like a lot of our systems are, well, all of our systems are in ClickUp. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not good at ClickUp. Like it doesn't work with my creative brain. It does not. Like I could do Monday, I could do Trello, but I could not do Click. I cannot. But the team likes ClickUp and they're all the process people. I'm the visionary, right? So I can function in the podcast ClickUp board. I can toggle interview done. I can toggle intro, outro written. I can toggle intro, outro recorded. I can do that. I can't make a new episode thing. No, because it goes somewhere else, or I put the whole thing together and I hit done and it's not there. So I can't do it. Okay. But what happens is if I communicate to you in ClickUp, you better answer me in ClickUp, because that's the kind of thing that happens. It's like, if I'm looking for information and I say to them all the time, I know, I'm not really quote unquote in there, but I am in there looking at things and I won't ever set anything up and I'm not going to touch all your stuff. But if I've asked you a question, you got to answer it there, because that's the system we use. Like, I don't want to, because my thing is otherwise I call it a dangling participle. Yeah. I'm carrying it around in my head and I'm like, did that get done? Did that get done? And so it's, 2:00 on Saturday and I'm like, well, it doesn't say it's done in ClickUp. And then I'm not going to ask somebody on a Saturday and on Monday, like, oh yeah, we did that. I'm like, I did it in ClickUp.
Yeah. I call that my popcorn brain. The only
Your
things
what?
that popcorn brain. The only things that like pop in my brain are the things that my brain hasn't come to a full closed loop on. Yes. And so it doesn't actually know.
That's so funny that we both have these weird names for it. To me, it's like, I'm like, I got a dangling participle. Is this thing done or not done?
Yes, and I got some popcorn. Pop it in my brain. Yeah, like make it stop. Yeah, it's just the things I don't have closure on, or I don't think I have closure on. Let's be honest, I'm getting older.
That's it. 99% of the time, you find the team has done it, right?
Yes, totally. Yeah, and it doesn't help that I'm getting older. So like things aren't just not as sharp as I used to be in some areas in that regards. I blame Adam and Eve. That's what I blame for everything when it comes to that kind of stuff. Okay, before we go off on that path, I wanted to now make sure we talk about number 7, because number 7 is they embrace learning, coaching, and hiring people smarter than them. So I want to, because a lot of people who listen to my show are the solopreneurs, or maybe they'll have like 1 or 2 people. Obviously, I have people listening that have a team of 10 or 20 or 30 or more. But the majority of the people that I work with and that listen to this show, they're going to be on the smaller side. So it's not always them hiring employees. They may have a couple of those, but it's their willingness to embrace like the learning and the coaching from other people. And I know, like, when you're in your first year, money is so precious to you. Like, you're just like, every dollar, because I'm trying to make a mortgage payment, or I'm trying to be able to pay my bills in the business. Like, I'm not talking about that money is precious early startup stage. I'm talking about the business owner that's 5 or 10 or 15 years in, and the mindset shift they may have, or that you see them have, where they're like, I can figure this out. I can Google it to death. I can watch a bunch of YouTube videos. I'm smart enough. I can figure this out, to making the shift to like, I'm going to hire for that. Because I know I made the shift. And it was like, when I made it, it was like, boom, like I made it.
Life-changing.
It was. And so like now I'll read, like, I'm just going to use this as an example. I did StoryBrand on my website a number of years ago, right? I read the book. I'm like, I ain't doing that. And I hired a StoryBrand consultant. I was like, no, I'm not going to write that. Like, I won't do it. I know I won't. And so, but that was like, that's Stacey, and probably of like the last 5 or 6 years. The early Stacey, obviously, not so much like that. But like, where do you think that mindset shift hits or comes in, where people are like embracing the hiring other people that can help them, that can teach them the shortcuts and get them what they need?
Well, I think, listen, I know all the reasons why they don't. And it's fear. Listen, this is a psychology episode now, because it's, am I worth it? Did my parents value this? But what I always say to people is what I'd said a few moments ago. Like, you have a kid that wants to learn the clarinet. Are you literally just putting a clarinet in an 8-year-old's hand and checking in when they're 12 and going, how's it going, kid? But meanwhile, that's the exact thing we do with a business. We open it up and we say, this is one thing I hear a lot. I'm just only in business 1 year, or I'm only in business 5 years. I don't think I'm ready for an expert consultant yet in my business. Oh, okay. Why don't you learn as much as you can the hard way and then have that expert come in and cut you to the line? It's ludicrous to me. It's absolutely ludicrous to me. Okay. And I also talk about the investment part. I'm not suggesting anybody should not pay their mortgage, that should not buy the Nikes for their kids. I am literally not saying you should have debt that is not smart debt. But, like I use this example all the time. Most of us come to our business for the passion, right? So whether it's a doctor, went to school, wants to be a doctor, right? Blah, 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 right? Or an interior designer, right? Or window treatment professional, whatever it is. It's like, you come to it and you know that you want to do it. Okay. But if you were the same way coming to a passion, and your passion was like, you were the greatest Italian cook ever. Like, we all have those women in our lives. We're like, oh my God, your broccoli rabe's amazing. Oh my God, your pasta fazool's crazy. Oh my God, your gravy's off the hook. Right. And then what happens is it becomes, you should start a little restaurant. You should have a cafe. And then you have those people that cross over and start a restaurant. But you know what? Even if you're Sally Smith, who's the greatest Italian cook ever, and you open a restaurant, what are you doing? You're walking into a bank. You're getting a loan because you need ovens and you need tables and you need inventory to make gravy and pizza and pasta fazool. Like, because so many creative entrepreneurs can be today in corporate and tomorrow in business, there's this mindset that there's no investment to make to be in business.
Right.
Like, when we opened Window Works, okay, we did 6 or 8 months out of our garage. Okay. Granted. But, there was a point when we had to buy a van, a $30,000 van, so that we could put the 10-foot poles and the long verticals in a place to drive up. And it got a little weird driving up with, like, in your sedan, your family car, right? So it's like, and then we had to have a place to house this stuff. So, okay, let's rent a shop. And so the thing is, there's just, in my mind, with creatives, there is so little that you have to invest in to start your business, that then you go on this mindset that I don't invest to make my business. One time I had a designer say to me, I'm very proud to tell you that I've been in business 6 years and I've never, ever had a dollar's worth of debt. And I was like, and where is the line for the brownie points for that? Like, where is that line? Like, so you want to invest in a referral coaching program for $5K or $25K. I don't know what it is, but you're not going to do it because you're getting a gold star somewhere for not being in debt. Like, I just don't get it. It's like, spend $25K on a valid coaching program and turn it into $100K.
Right.
And here's the thing about when you hire an expert, you pay the time, but then it exponentially creates you money for years on. You don't pay it again every year. 1 year you pay $25K and you make $100, and the next year you pay nothing and you make another $100.
Or more.
Or, go 10 years and make $5K every year on your own, because you don't know the first thing about creating referrals.
Oh my gosh, that is so going to become a clip. We're just going to pull that little piece out and use that as a little clip. Oh my God. Yeah, it's true, because, it's one of those things where I think some people think the money has to come first. Like, I've got to start making the money and get all the money. Like, yes, you need to make money. You need to figure out how to pay yourself. Like, we probably should have talked about, I think it was number 4, which is about knowing your numbers. That's another huge passion point for me. I'm pretty sure that if someone told me, if I woke up tomorrow and they were like, you can't do referrals anymore, pick another niche, I would be like, profit first. money.
Right.
Let's go all in, because that made a massive difference in my business in 2020. And both of us are very good friends with Michelle Williams. And like, we
Yes.
just know, like she speaks the truth and I just listen. I'm like, whatever you say, because it's the numbers and we need to be profitable. But I think that when you're like having conversations with yourself, and you're in those moments and you're like, I just need to make more money and then I can afford X. I just need to make more money. There is truth in that. But I think what people don't pay attention to always well enough is, but what's going to make you more money?
Faster, smarter,
Yes.
easier.
So
Like, it's not just more, but it's faster, smarter, easier. 90% of the people who own a business have a brain in their head. They'll figure it out. But does it have to take that long? And I'm going to tell you the other thing, particularly with my niche with interior designers. What's so funny is when I hit them between the eyes with, okay, so let me understand something. You know that even if the most entry level consumer that does not a luxury elite consumer that's going to spend $100,000 on design fees and another $1 million on furnishings, let's just take somebody that just wants their paint figured out for their house. Okay. Entry level activity for a designer. You actually know that you will do that better, faster, and easier with a better outcome than 99% of the garden variety humans walking on the planet. And when they don't want to give you $500 or $800 to do that, but they have 16 rooms in their house painted the wrong color and it looks like crap, you look at them and go, you know, you just don't get it. I'm a professional and you don't value me. And I'm like, but you see, when a professional can teach you profit first, or a professional can teach you, how to generate referrals, or a professional can teach you how to understand your mission, vision, values, you're right. Why don't you just keep doing that on your own? Why don't you just keep doing it? Because you want your consumers to recognize your value, that you're going to get them there better, faster, and with a better result. But you know what? You're right. Just keep figuring out superpowers that you don't have.
Yeah, I don't know where it is in a business owner's journey where they click over and they start thinking it the way like we think about it. Like for me, I don't know if I go many years where I'm not spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get better at something or
Yes.
to fix something that I have identified, as like a gap or a hole or a leaky bucket that needs to be
Yes.
fixed in my business. What I do much better now is I'm much faster at figuring out the problem and figuring out exactly how I want to solve it. And then
Right.
typically finding through a referral, usually, right, who I'm going to allow help me to solve
Yeah.
it. So
I think because you've said that a couple of times, like, where's the point that you make the difference? I think when I think back to my journey, and it sounds like similar what you were alluding to, is there's usually a moment that you experience that difference. And maybe it was a favor by somebody, or maybe you did invest in somebody. But I think about my cousin Eileen, Eileen, because she was in our collaborative book together and she's been at the events and stuff. Eileen is an organizational behavioral consultant. And it's a fancy way to say what she does is her superpower is coming into a team and looking at all the people and all the butts and all the seats. And usually the CEO hires her and says, we have a great company or blah, 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 but like we're just not reaching the profitability, or we're not reaching our goals. Like, what's going on? And she will usually come in and find out that people are in the wrong seats, like they're wrong superpowers for their position and stuff. And then she works with the C-suite team or the entrepreneurial team or whatever. But I have to tell you, I can remember, it has to be, oh my goodness, 25 years ago. And I was having a situation with an employee. And at that point, I had never, ever considered that, there's people that know how to manage people better than me. Like, there's people that actually went to college for this and they study this every day. Like, it just felt like, I'm an entrepreneur. You got to figure it out. You own the place, have the meetings, have the conversations, get it going. And there was one time, by coincidence, her and I were talking, because it was way before the podcast. So what we weren't always talking about business. And she's like, how's things? I said, I just got this one employee driving me to drink, like literally driving me to drink. Good person, good human, good skill set. But my gosh, every time I turn around, it's like, I just want to poke my eyeballs out. And so she says to me, what's going on? And I told her, and she ended up giving me some advice and strategy on how to have a conversation with this employee that I tell you in the last 7 or 8 months, I had like 5 times with no success. And I was like, wait, what? And she's like, well, everything you told me about the problem and about the person, this is the type of thinker they are. And of course, it's a completely diametrically opposite thinker than me.
Than you.
So
Yeah.
this is like me saying every day, don't you love Twix? Let's have a Twix bar. I love Twix. And that person's like, I like potato chips. I'm like, but Twix are great. What are we doing? How could you not love Twix? Here's your bonus. It's Twix. Like we were just speaking two separate languages. But I hadn't had that awareness to understand that there's an expertise in team management.
Right.
And so we went through some role play. She gave me some things to say. I went in and I had that conversation with that employee, and it was like, the angels started singing. It was just like, oh my God. And the employee smiled and have thanked me. And I'm so glad that we've had this conversation. And it was like a 180-degree turn. And I was like, holy crow. And so then I was like, oh, see, when you keep banging your head against the wall on something, there's somebody that knows how to do this. Like, go find them.
Go find them. Yeah. And then be willing to pay them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because,
absolutely.
I mean, I think that it's like with anything, right? It's that idea that the ability to quickly identify your gap as you progress in business, you get faster at that.
Yes.
Like is it this problem, or maybe it's this problem? Maybe then you're like, no, it's this. Like you're just discernment is like so much on point. But fixing it is still always the thing that you've got to figure out how you're going to ultimately do that. I mean, there are some problems I have in my business, and I'll tell Kathy, no, I'm going to figure that out for myself because I'm quite not sure I know how to articulate it to somebody else.
Exactly.
And until I either make progress on it or I figure out how to explain it better, I don't want to waste money on it.
Right.
And then let's be honest, that means it's also not a huge pain point. Like it's
right.
just something that's
and also too, I've learned, just to piggyback on that, I've learned sometimes to just either like reach out to a colleague and be like, can I pick your brain? Like your expertise in this area. I'm not clear on my problem. I feel like it's this lane. I feel like and it's like, that's what I mean by that one, like build your genuine relationships, because you know, you can ask somebody that you've poured into their cup, some help or some advice. And then if you're like, that person might help you identify in that situation. Yeah, I don't think you have clarity on the problem yet. You're not ready for the expert. Or like, no, you don't understand. This is exactly what that expert would do for you. You have enough of a problem. Don't go in a circle on it. Right. But it's that level of, Eileen also always said to me, who do you know that knows the answer? Who do you know that knows the answer? And I'm like, I don't know anybody that knows the answer. She goes, you do. Just think, who knows the answer?
When you think about like the pouring into other people's cups, like I think about like, all the times that you've poured into my cup. And if I ever knew that you were sitting there not knowing how to handle a situation with a referral thing, I'd probably come to Jersey and like slap you around a little bit and be like, are you kidding? Why didn't you just call?
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. I think that like that number 9 that we're not really, covering, but it's be okay with looking around your world and saying, who might know the answer to this? And even if it's not or it could be just a discovery call. A lot of experts and consultants will have a discovery call, and a good one should tell you, yes, your problem, I'm ready for it. Or, like you said, sometimes it's like, you know what, I'm not getting your problem. You don't really know your problem yet. Go away, figure it out a little bit better. But it's like I said, if your business was a gift to someone you loved, spouse, parent, child, niece, anybody, you would never be like, here's the business, hope it works. You'd be like, okay, and let's set up this for success, and let's make sure you have that. And this we have to do we have to bootstrap it. But I know a friend who knows a friend, and we're going to ask for a little free advice. And this thing website, we're going to have it professionally developed. Like, we're not screwing around with that. That's your business card. Like, you would never just be like, here's the keys, bye.
Yeah. See you later. And the opposite of that, not like constantly like asking and expecting someone to like give you a ton of free advice when you're not.
No, you got to be doing the give first. You got to be doing the give.
It's so like Bob Burg was not wrong. It was like givers receive. You got to give first though to receive. Like, it's that kind of idea. I remember one time, I don't know how many of these you get, but as a solo show, I get so many of them I don't understand. Like, why do people keep pitching me people to be on my show. Like, I don't like when I put someone like you on my show, it's someone I know. I know
It's
everybody who's
intentional.
ever been on my show, right?
Right.
Like, I'm not taking cold pitches, but I get a ton of them. And I'll tell you, the only one I ever paid attention to that I actually emailed the person back, unless sometimes I email back and I'm like, I'm a solo show.
Yeah.
Please stop emailing me.
Yeah.
But like the only one I ever responded to was this podcast booker that reached out and said, and they all will pick like the subject of your last episode.
Exactly.
To
Like
make
they
it
listen
look
to
like
it.
they were like listening to your show. And she literally said that. And she was like, I listened to this episode about this. And it was like something from within the episode. This was said. I liked it so much. I went and left you a 5-star written review on your podcast. And
The
then she had
way
a
to a
screenshot
woman's
of
heart
it.
is through her reviews.
And I was like, because people don't do that as often as I want them to. And so I like opened up the screenshot. I was like, look at that. She really did. And then I went and looked, and there it was on iTunes. And I was like, hey, I don't take the pitches like this, but I really appreciate you. And if I'm ever looking for a certain type of expert that I can't find with who I know, you're the only person I'll reach out to. Now, it doesn't produce any business for her, but I appreciated that.
Yes. It's the genuine. It's not the fake. I swear to goodness, my podcast is directed for interior designers, right? But I literally say, we're not going to talk about the pretty. I'm not interested in the pretty. I expect you to create a beautiful room. I want to know, I want to help you make money on that. Right. And literally exactly what I said. Oh, and what I love is when they actually have my name wrong. Oh, Susan, your last episode was so-and-so, because they're copying, pasting, and they don't, and I just want to put in front of you, Sally Smith. She's an interior designer from California, and she just would love to talk to your audience about how to pick the most beautiful paint color and what the undertones are. And I'm like, really? You really listened to the whole episode? You didn't even listen to the intro, which says we're not going to talk about the pretty. It's like,
so true. But I mean, people are looking for the shortcut. Like
there's no shortcut in a genuine relationship. And that's why number 9 is build genuine relationships, not fake ones.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh my gosh. We could talk forever.
Of course.
This was so fun. I'm so glad we did this. I'm so sorry. It was like 6 years on my end in the making. I think
I didn't know, so it's fine.
Well, now that I've like called myself out multiple times, because I think I've been on your show like 3 times.
I think it's at least 3 and maybe 4.
It's not even just fun. It's like repeat. Oh my goodness, but I appreciate it. Okay, so I know all the ways to get connected to you. So we're going to put all the ways to connect to you, of course, on the show notes page for this episode. But just real quick, for the person who may just be like listening and opens their notes app and wants to write it down for themselves and will never make it to the show notes page.
Right.
Why don't you let the audience know if they want to learn more about you, where should they kind of get started? Where should they go first to just kind of like start drinking the LuAnn Kool-Aid?
I mean, easiest thing is the website, and it's LuAnnNigara.com. It's LuAnnNigara.com. And there you can, link over to the speaker page. You can link over to the books. You can link over to the 2 podcasts. You can link over to LuAnn University, any events that I'm going to be doing. It's all, from that hub out. So definitely, I would say do that.
Did you ever have that thought where you wished your mom and dad had named you different? So that when you had a business one day and you had to explain, I mean, granted, I know your last name comes from marriage, but like, then you had to like for Stacey, I'm like, seriously, I always have to say, and Stacey has an E.
Stacey has an E. I know, right? Well, for me, it's the A is capitalized, right? But thankfully for at websites and stuff, it doesn't matter. Otherwise, it would be a real, pain in the neck.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, LuAnn, for being with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Stacey. This was so much fun. I appreciate you.
Thanks. I hope you enjoyed that conversation, listening into that conversation with LuAnn as much as I enjoyed doing it. She really is one of those folks, when you're around her, it's like no time passes. I mean, we may go months and months without chatting, but it's like in an instant, it's like we totally always understand each other and get each other. And she is such a joy, and I count her as such a blessing to have in my life and in my business. Now, I want to wrap up that story that LuAnn said I could tell the ending to, because it's kind of funny. In our episode, if you were listening to the interview between LuAnn and I, and she was talking about our friendship and all the ways that we like pour into each other and we do things for each other. I've been on her stages. I've been a co-author in her book. She's had me on her podcast multiple times. She's given me part of her Power Talk Friday tours opportunity to meet the folks that she works with and her followers, which are mostly interior designers. And so it's been really interesting as this friendship has developed since 2017. We think that's when it started. But one of the things she talked about was the comment was made about in our friendship, we help each other out and do all these things for each other. And then maybe one of us may have sent inappropriate something on cupcakes, right? So let me tell that story really fast. Last fall, October of 2024, I attended LuAnn's Power Talk Friday tour where I went to High Point and I was there as one day before High Point with 3 other experts. And we spent the day with people that are a part of LuAnn's world. And the designers came in, they paid for the day, and they learned from us as the experts for an entire day. LuAnn was telling a story about somebody that she was found easy to remember because of how well they always took care of her. And she said, I could always remember this one designer. She was always top of mind for me because she would always send our office these pastries. And then she spent like a solid 3 minutes trying to describe what were bear claws, but couldn't come up with the word bear claws. Like she couldn't remember the word bear claws. She was like, they're the pastries, they're shaped like this. And they kind of like, they're like fingernails. Aren't they fingernails? And everyone's like, nope, there's no pastry called fingernails. But she couldn't remember the word bear claws. So finally someone was like, you mean bear claws? And she's like, yes, bear claws, not fingernails. I don't know where I got that from. It's just a really funny moment. Well, I took that one step further. And when she got back to New Jersey after the High Point Market, I had a dozen cupcakes delivered to her office that had fingernails on them. Not real ones, but like iced fingernails on them. And I thought it was going to be like really cool and elegant looking. It wasn't. It was like super creepy, but that actually made it that much funnier. And she instantly knew why I was sending her cupcakes with icing fingernails on top of them. So that was, promised to close out that story. I wanted to do that for you guys. But if you are interested in following up with LuAnn, everything that she mentioned, like she talked about her book, she talked about her website, she talked about both of her podcasts, we have all of that linked on the show notes page for this episode. And the show notes page for this episode is stacybrownrandall.com/362. So you can find all the information on LuAnn. If you want to start listening to her and following her, that would be awesome. You will not be disappointed. So I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. All right, we're back with another great episode next week, created with you and your needs in mind. Until then, you know what to do, my friend. Take control of your referrals and build a referable business. Bye for now.